Hello everyone, this is part 22 of What If Naruto was banished and becomes Master Swordsman, and I hope you guys enjoy this video and to like, to subscribe, to share, and check out the playlist, to see more comment down below. Now let's start the intro.
They call me a god. They call me a god. They call me a god.
Outside of the village, Gaara was standing in a large grass field with his arms folded. Judging by the scene, it was obvious that he and the bald rock Jinchuriki were fighting for about 15 minutes. The landscape was slightly changed, due to Gaara's sand and the rock shinobi's Doton jutsus. The rock shinobi addressed the Kazekage with a blank stare. Gaara of the desert, I hear you are strong. I really don't wish to fight you, however I will do what Lord Tsuchikage requests of me. If that means defeating you, then so be it. Gaara responded, it sounds like you're nothing but a weapon for that man. Nothing but a tool. I was created to live only for my village. I am the blade of the rock which is guided by the Tsuchikage. The bald shinobi said. Gaara shook his head, you are a fool, Iwasado. Shinobi are not just tools. Yes we are. You are one of the biggest tools for your village, are you not? Being a Jinchuriki, you know the purpose and the reasons we were created. We were created to destroy for our villages, nothing more. Your village made you Kazekage simply because of your strength. Suna wields the weapon which is you and the cloud wields that which is Kuin. All of us, tools. Without being useful we are nothing. Tsuchikage-sama has made me useful, I am needed. Why do I exist, I used to ask, he gave me that answer. To fight for him. You remind of this guy the first fought once, he too praised the ground of the man who gave him purpose. Jinchurikis can be tools but we are also human, Gaara pointed out. Our kind is far from human. Villagers let us know that every chance they get. We're nothing but monsters, efficient killers, and demon vessels. Iwasado said with a hint of anger. With his typical melancholic expression, Gaara spoke, so you've experienced the pain of a Jinchuriki as well. I was like you. I asked what was my purpose and why did I exist. I couldn't find an answer like you, so I came up with my own. It was to prove my existence by fighting the strongest opponents. If I lived then that would prove my worth, but if I died then it meant I was only weak. I lived for myself, loved only myself. That was until I fought a shinobi who showed me the true meaning of strength. Oh, and what is the true meaning? Protect that which is precious to you. That's the true strength of anyone. Gaara said. Who told you something like that? Iwasado asked. Someone who understands what it is like to be a Jinchuriki, since he is one. He is the only man to ever defeat me in battle. He looked confused. Another Jinchuriki? I wasn't aware there were any others except for those in cloud, sand, and mist. Nope, there is another one right here in the village as we speak. In fact I think he slaughtered over 100 shinobi from your village. The bald nin's eyes widened. That can't be, you mean? Yes. Uzumaki Naruto is a Jinchuriki. Gaara informed the stunned nin. He just smirked. No wonder he's so strong. What tailed beast does he hold? Kyubi no Yoko, Gaara said with no hint of emotion. The nine-tailed demon fox. It makes sense, the golden fox, holder of the 9 tails. Well I guess I shouldn't play around with you any longer, Gaara. I have to be useful to Tsuchikage-sama. I will start by finishing the order given to me to kill you. Said the rock Jinchuriki as a green aura started to surround his body. Green liquid shot from the mouth of Iwasado. Gaara's sand rose to shield his face, and with the impact, the sand fell to the ground. Gaara took notice of this, so it can disable my sand. That's the power given to him from the Yonbi. Gaara shot a stream of sand, only to have Iwasado jump over it. In midair, using his own version of water bullet, he shot a green liquid bullet at Gaara, but the auto defense, courtesy of Shukaku, shielded Gaara. Again the sand fell to the ground, turning a ghostly gray. Gaara took note of this yet again. It seems that the power of this green liquid is to kill everything it touches. Is that the gift given to him? Gaara wondered. The bald warrior landed a few feet away from Gaara. He smiled. Your sand, it automatically protects you, I see. You don't even have to impose your will on it. If that is why they call you Gaara of the desert, then I am not impressed at all. Gaara didn't saying anything. In fact, he was planning his next steps carefully. To do what he wanted, it would take about 10 minutes, which is why he was stalling. Gaara spoke, "This fight ends here." Clasping his hands together, Yusabakuryu, Gaara's opponent couldn't believe what he was seeing. Here they were, in a grass field, with virtually no sand around, and in an instant it was wind country. The avalanche rushed towards him so fast that had it been a slower person they would have gotten caught in the initial attack. However, he wasn't slow. He jumped and dodged the first wave of sand that crashed into the ground, but he never expected the sand to be controlled to such a degree to where it was like extra hands being controlled by Gaara. When a stream of sand wrapped around his foot, it threw him into the wall of sand that appeared behind him. All of the sand converged on him, completely engulfed Wasado. Trying to get free as the sand pushed him, he was completely submerged. The whole area was now a desert courtesy of Gaara. Gaara slammed both hands into the ground. "I'm not done yet." Using his hands to send shockwaves through the sand to compress it. Desert Imperial Funeral will end this. After performing this technique, Gaara slowly stood to survey his work. He narrowed his eyes. He's not dead. Gaara felt the violent vibrations in the sand that continued to get more violent by the second, but this didn't change the expression on Gaara's face. Alerted to the situation, Gaara jumped from his position to avoid the pocket of gas that shot from it. Suspended in air due to his sand, he watched as green gas erupted from all over the newly formed desert. He then heard a voice, "You are truly impressive, Gaara." Slowly rising out of the sand was a Wasado, but not the person Gaara recognized. The guy before him now had two tails and had the head of a lizard and the eyes of a snake. Green scaly skin, he was a lizard humanoid of sorts with a green aura surrounding him. Gaara's eyes narrowed. "Shit, I didn't want to bring Shukaku into this battle, looks like I have no choice though." Slowly, the god transformed and the sand covered his form until he was a miniature Shukaku. Still riding his sand, Gaara slowly descended to an area not seeping with that deadly gas. Once he landed he spoke, "This fight serves no purpose. Even us using these forms is pointless. If we lose control then everyone suffers." Wasado gave Gaara a confused look. "Lose control? You mean to tell me that you don't have full control of your Bayu? Remember Kazekage-sama, that I am only using half of what the Suko is capable of. I will tell you this, I can use all four tails without being controlled. Don't worry if you lose control, it will only be bad for you. I will have the power and be consciously aware to control it. Don't worry, I will kill you before you lose control. Fool, if I lose control you won't stand a chance against me." Gaara warned him. Wasado didn't care. It didn't matter to him because Gaara couldn't beat him. He watched as Gaara became a miniature Shukaku, while he himself became a miniature Suko. His tails were swaying from side to side as he stared Gaara down. Flying through hand seals, the reptilian-looking man covered the area in a green type of smog. Gaara launched sand shuriken at the other demon vessel who dodged it easily. Wasado was studying Gaara as well. "That sand is a nuisance. I'm sure someone like him has gotten reliant on his auto-defense. This is perfect. The deadly gas that was granted to me by the Yonbi no Suko will kill all that it touches. The sand that the fog touched is useless, but there is enough sand here for him to incorporate it and fuse it with the sand that is a part of the gourd. I have to attack him head-on. He's a long-range type and that will be his downfall." Wasado wasted no time running towards Gaara. He found himself dodging streaming bullets of sand crashing down at him. When he got within striking distance of Gaara, he aimed a punch at Gaara's face. The sand shield went up but his hand was encapsulated with a green aura that allowed him to penetrate through the sand. It ends here. The punch connected and sent Gaara stumbling back a few feet. Wasado continued his attack only to have Gaara dodge it and be protected by the sand that was collapsing with every hit. He finally connected with a punch that sent Gaara reeling back. He spoke with a tone of superiority, "It seems that you will lose Kazekage-sama." Gaara's face couldn't be seen. He was facing the ground. In a low tone that could be heard by Wasado, "Don't go thinking I will lose so quickly." Gaara slowly rose his head until his eyes locked on Wasado's eyes. Wasado was a bit surprised at what he saw. The area where his fist connected, he could see sand falling from that area. Damn, he even has sand compacted against his body. Truly a tough opponent. I can see why he only lost once as he claims. I guess I have to turn it up. Another tail formed from Iwasado's back. But that wasn't the only thing that happened. He began to transform until he was about the height of Gaara in Shukaku form. Gaara of the Desert, that is a name I will remember for years to come. You are the first person to go up against this form. You should feel proud, Gaara. This power, it's the Yonbi no Soko, how troublesome. Gaara mentally noted. He watched as Iwasado transformed into a green lizard with red eyes. Gaara had no choice. It was still hard to control Shukaku, but he knew that he had to at least transform. He transformed into the state before Shukaku was awakened. Seeing the Yonbi lizard was just as big, Gaara could feel the bloodlust from Shukaku. The demon was in his head saying, kill him now. Better yet, unleash me and I will kill him. I want his blood, his blood. Calm yourself. Don't interfere, Gaara repeated over and over. Gaara looked at his surroundings. I have to end this quick. If we take too long we will change the landscape completely. Both warriors stood glaring at one another, waiting for the other to attack. Somewhere in the village, Shikamaru and Temari were helping fend off enemy nins who tried to advance further into the village. They were defending the northern gate and their teamwork was phenomenal. Standing back to back, both warriors' eyes widened slightly when they felt two demonic auras. One was already familiar to Temari. She whispered, Gaara. We have to get to him before he loses control, Temari. If he does that, then the village doesn't stand a chance. No one stands a chance. Shikamaru pointed out. She nodded, let's go. The two shinobi blurred from view in the direction of Gaara. A mile or so away, Anko was standing on Manda while Jiraiya was on Gamabunta. Both summons hated each other, but this time they were commanded by people with the same goal, protect the village. Anko looked at Jiraiya, who was to her right. Jiraiya-sama, how about I take those two on the left and you take the summon on the right? Jiraiya nodded, fine by me. I think we should finish this quickly though. That Gaara kid is transforming. Anko nodded, understood. A voice beneath yelled out, Kuchio's no jutsu. When the large cloud of smoke cleared, Katsuya was in the middle of the pack with Sakura was standing on the giant slug's head. I've decided to aid you guys. Good timing, Sakura, but honestly you should be in the village. Jiraiya said to the girl. It's okay, Shizune is there and we have tons of great doctors. Honestly, the village needs me on the front line. Forget about that, let's focus on these guys. Sakura pointed to the creatures before them. Anko licked her lips, this should be very fun. Jiraiya gave her a weird glance, that tongue has just inspired me to write the love scene in the next Ika Ika volume. He broke away from his thought to speak, yay, we have to hurry, Gaara is going to go off of the deep end. Gaara wasn't the only person Jiraiya was worried about. I just hope Naruto doesn't lose control and draws the Kyuubi's power. Six Tails is just too dangerous for anyone to go up against. Jiraiya knew that he had to take the summon he was up against down quick. He yelled for Gamabunta to attack, and that is just what the giant toad did. In Stoneface Mountains, sitting around waiting for the ruckus to die down, were the civilians, academy students, academy instructors, and a few genin. Meikinu, along with Yumi, Hayami, Ranpu, Akuru, Futeki, Yasumi and Mai, were in the mountains when the attacks started, and thanks to Jiraiya, they were all bored. Iruka, one of the many academy instructors, wondered what was happening. He wished he was out there fighting, but he knew that his duty was to the students. Meikinu, who was leaning against the stone walls, glanced at Iruka. Iruka-sensei, what do you think is going on out there? He shook his head. I wish I could tell you, but it wouldn't be anything you don't already know. The fact is we're at war. You witnessed it yourself. I don't know how long it's going to take, but I do know that the evacuation isn't done yet. Futeki, who was sitting next to Meikinu, looked up at Iruka. So what happens when it's complete? It means we counter-strike with the full force of the village, a figure in the shadows answered. Iruka turned to see Sai come forth with civilians. He addressed Futeki. Right now, the evacuation process is still going on. It won't be until another 30 minutes or so until everyone is evacuated. However, every shinobi from the leaf, sand, grass, and waterfall is giving their all to drive the enemy back. Hokage-sama is fighting for us now as we speak. Also, with the appearance of that Manashu guy, who is taking out a large number of enemy nin at the stadium, and Naruto, who seems to be using the fourth technique, caused many rock shinobi to flee, so it should take us less time to evacuate everyone. Hayami jumped up with a smile. Shinji-ni is at the stadium. Sai looked at the girl. I can only assume you mean the Manashu guy. If so, then yes. Well, I have to go. There are more civilians I need to get to safety. Do you need any help? Makinu asked. Sai looked at him and gave him a smile. Sorry, but a weakling like you would only get in my way. He didn't have a chance to try and attack him. Sai was gone as fast as he came. Makinu just balled his fist, mumbling something. That was until he heard a villager say, "Do you believe that the monster knows the technique of our beloved fourth?" Another villager spoke, "He must have stolen the secret scrolls or something. That bastard is insulting the legacy of our dear Yondaime. I hope he dies out there." One lady said. Yumi couldn't take it anymore. She snapped, "Would you all shut up?" Everyone turned to Yumi. "You all complain about Naruto and hate him, but do you even really know why? And don't say it's because of that. All of you should be ashamed of yourself. Cursed with a fate that he didn't ask for, treated horribly by people who never gave him a chance, only chose to use him as an scapegoat. Even now, even if his pride doesn't let him admit it, he's fighting for all of us. Not just me, Hayami, but all of us. You are fools, just fools." A man stood up and pointed a finger at Yumi. Of course his whore would defend him. "You can die along with that monster." Aruka stepped in. "You're pathetic, you know that. Wishing death on him for something that was well out of his realm of control. You sure are a great man, aren't you? Aruka, you more than any of us can understand. Why don't you hate him after what he did to your parents?" The guy hoped Aruka would sympathize with them since he went through the pain of losing loved ones to the Kyuubi. Aruka, on the other hand, just shook his head. "I did want to place blame on him, but then I started to realize that the two were completely different, not one in the same. Sure, my parents are gone, but he wasn't responsible for it. The boy has saved this village from Gaara during the sand invasion. He is the reason why Tsunade-sama is Hokage, and the reason why our village is still standing. Nope, he's not a monster in my eyes. He has always been the village's ultimate hero. Not even the Yondaime surpasses him in that." The man was about to say something, but Tsuki, the owner of the Ichiraku, stepped forth with his daughter. "Aruka-san is right. Whatever your perception or misconceived notion of him is just that, misconceived. Monster. He is hardly that. A glutton, that I will admit, but Naruto a monster, that's just ludicrous. He's still a monster. I don't care what you say. Prove to me he's not. When you can provide the proof, then maybe I'll believe you." A female around Aruka's age spoke. Aruka smiled, then pointed to Hayami. "She is all the proof that is required." A female in her mid-30s questioned Aruka. "How is she all the proof that is required?" "Because monsters don't eliminate 300 shinobi to protect a little girl." She was a little shocked. "You mean to tell me that incident in those two countries a year ago was because of her?" All of the gazes turned to Hayami, who buried her head into her knees. Aruka nodded. Yes, he was willing to give up his life to make sure she lived. Monsters don't do that. How many of you would be brave enough to take on 300 shinobi to save a loved one? The villagers that knew Naruto's secret, as well as those who didn't, put their head down in shame. Aruka just shook his head, "And he's the monster." Some of the older villagers and those around Aruka's age put their head down. Ranpu, who had his chest wrapped in gauze by medics, who were tending to the injured inside the Stone Face Mountains, turned to look at the crowd. "Well, the fact of the matter is that guy saved us, and from what that guy told us, he is also responsible for everyone safely retreating. Call him what you want, but he's fighting on our behalf and seeing what he can do firsthand. You should be glad he's on our side." One of the females with long brown hair stepped forward and bent down in front of Hayami. She placed a hand on the girl's forearm, causing her to look up. She smiled at the girl, such innocence in her eyes. "I wonder, why protect you? What are you to him? Monsters aren't supposed to care for people yet." She glanced at Yumi, who was looking at her suspiciously. "He protects you, her, and the village, even if we fail to see this. Why?" Abara looked at her friend. "What are you saying, Tsubaki?" She turned to her friend. "Come on, Abara, don't be blind. I hated that boy for so long that I didn't stop to see what was really there. I think all of us were like that. Our anger at it has clouded our judgment of the boy. Maybe Sandaime-sama was right, who knows?" Abara narrowed her eyes at her friend. "How could you even think that? Look at the pain he caused you and me. Are you actually defending him?" She shook her head. "Nope, Just saying maybe we need to re-evaluate our thinking. Well, that's a start. Everyone turned to the voice of the newcomer only to widen their eyes at shock. Futeki pointed and stuttered, you're Hatake Kakashi. Iruka ignored her and looked at Kakashi, who was with Guy and a face he hadn't seen in a long time. Rin-san, is that really you? She smiled at the guy. It's been a while, Iruka-san. Still the clown, or are we all serious now? Sorry Rin-san, I traded in my clown hat for the wonderful world of teaching. He informed the former chunin of the village. Iruka turned his attention to Kakashi. What brings you here, Kakashi? Kakashi pointed behind him. We decided to aid with the evacuation. Makinu addressed his senior officer. Weren't you at the stadium, Kakashi-sama? Sweat formed in the back of Kakashi's head as he heard that comment. Sama, he didn't really know what to say except, yes. Rin scoped the room to see the injured and the medics that were helping them. She walked over to a man, who had a large gash on chest. Rin knelt down and one of the medics said in a sad voice, we're doing all we can but he doesn't look like he's going to make it. The best we can do is ease his pain. Rin placed her hands over his chest, he can still be healed. Allow me the chance if you will. I don't think it will make a difference. Only Sakura-san, Shizune-san, and Hokage-sama could make the difference, but you're welcome to try. The confidence in her abilities was zero until he saw the blood clot and the wound start to close slowly. Kakashi addressed Rin, you should stay here to help these people. When you're done, meet up with us back at the stadium. The threat is minimizing. We have to aid Chunin-sama once we minimize the threat. Turning to Guy, who was standing quietly, we have to continue with the evacuation. Guy nodded, you're right. Let's get going. Before Kakashi left, Hayami spoke, Kakashi-san, did you see Shinji-ni out there? Also, how is Naruto-ni-san? Kakashi turned to the girl, well, Shinji actually helped us out a lot at the stadium. Saying that he evened the playing field would be an understatement. He's been a factor in swaying the tide in our favor. Naruto on the other hand, I really don't know. Last time I saw him is when he harassed out of the stadium. He was looking for you guys, I think. Yes, he actually saved us. Last time we saw him, he took off to fight a blue-haired shinobi from Cloud. Sakura-san took off to fight the red-haired female from Cloud. Yumi informed him. Kakashi's eyes widened in horror. Oh no. He turned to Guy immediately. We have to get to Naruto before he. Rin spoke. Don't worry about him, Kakashi. Trust in his ability. Trust that he knows what he is doing. You don't understand that Cloud Shinobi isn't a normal shinobi. His power is. She cut him off once more, which is why Naruto is the perfect match-up for him. Focus on helping the civilians, Kakashi, and forget about him. He will be okay. Yumi looked down to the floor with a worried gaze. I don't doubt he will be fine, but I get this feeling that he won't be if he fights the Raikage. Whenever I think about him fighting the Raikage, I get a chill through my body, almost as if a flame has been extinguished. I hope you're okay, Naruto. Kakashi decided to listen to Rin. He turned around and motioned for Guy to follow him. Rin, who was still healing the man, turned to Kakashi looking at the exposed Sharingan. Kakashi. He understood what she was getting at. He pulled down his high-8 covering the exposed Sharingan and turned around to walk out. Somewhere outside of the village. Gaara was in his Shukaku form while Awesudo was in Tsuko form and fully transformed with 4 tails. Gaara could feel Shukaku's bloodlust being transformed to his own. Using the sand beneath him, created by his previous attacks, he shot forth a large stream of sand at Awesudo. Shooting deadly venom from his mouth, Awesudo caused the stream to fall to the ground. He laughed at Gaara. You can't hope to win like you are now, Gaara. Your strength is good, but in order to hope to compete you have to be in sync with your demon. Why do you think I can control Soku's full power? It's because I have conquered my demon and I embrace it. Also, I have trained to the point where my body has adapted and can withstand the force of the 4-tail form. You fight it and it creates a struggle for power between you. It doesn't matter, you will die either way. Gaara shot bullets of sand at him, but Awesudo used the tails to swat them away. Gaara knew he was right. Shit, I have to release Shukaku. He's right. I can control Shukaku's 1-tail form, but the time in which I can maintain this state without him taking over isn't long. Even now, I'm doing all I can to keep him at bay. It's amazing that he and his Bayu is that in sync. I didn't think it was possible to show off the full powers of the Bijuas without being taken over completely. My body can't handle Shukaku and his full power because I don't train as much. Really can't worry about that now. I must release Shukaku. Forgive me, everyone. Gaara emerged from deep within his transformed body to appear on the head. He brought his hands together and performed his force sleep jutsu. When Gaara's body went limp, a loud roar from Shukaku was heard. Finally, I'm free. And if it isn't Soko, wait, you're not Suko. You're his vessel and I see you have access to all of his powers. I can't believe a human can handle the full powers of any of the Bijus, Shukaku stated. Awesudo explained, well, if you wasn't listening, I informed Gaara that the reason I can access the full scope of Soku's power is because my body is at a point where I can sustain it. Soku's power is mine. Shukaku laughed manically, ha, Yonbi was always the weakest of us all. I will have fun killing you. Kill me, your sand is useless against me. Awesudo pointed out. Die. Shukaku screeched before he shot a wind bullet at Awesudo, who avoided it by jumping in the air. Shukaku brought his hand forth and yelled out, wind style, sand wind stream. A streamline of wind, infused with a little sand, shot through the air at Awesudo. Various cuts marred his body and the force of his landing created a small crater. Looking up to see Shukaku laughing insanely, he brought his hand forth and shot out a green-scaled ball at him. Shukaku retaliated by shooting 3 winged bullets, one impacting Awesudo's attack, and the other 2 hitting him dead on, causing him to fall on his back. Awesudo couldn't believe what was going on, he was losing. He didn't understand. Suko and himself were in complete sync with one another and his body could withstand the transformed state, but still he was losing to Shukaku. He started to feel sand wrap around his massive body. Struggling to get free, he sank deeper and deeper into the sand. Shukaku smiled, I will kill you now, boy. As for you, Suko, have fun going back to the other side again. Weak fool, die. Ha. Closing his hand into a fist, Shukaku closed his hand until the area, in which Awesudo was swallowed by the sand, turned a deep crimson. Shukaku gave loud boisterous laugh, yes, I'm finally free. I sense that bastard Kyubi and Hoko. Wait, it's faint but I also feel Hachi no Orochi, but they are all contained in a vessel. I will send them back to the other side, especially that bastard fox and his container. Interfering with my fun 6 years ago, he will pay dearly. Shukaku was heading in the direction where he sensed Naruto and Kun, but he jumped back when a frog shot a water bullet in his path. The tailed beast was about to shoot a wind blast but acid was shot from his left which he dodged. Looking at Gamabunta and Katsuya he laughed, you again you damn frog. Who is the slug? It doesn't matter, I will kill you both. Die. Shukaku didn't have time because Manda wrapped himself around the demon and sunk his teeth into the right side of his neck. Anko yelled out to Jiraiya, now is our chance, wake Gaara up. Shukaku was still free enough to shoot a wind blast at Gamabunta, but it never reached. Temari appeared in front of Gamabunta and yelled out, Kuchios, Kiri Kirimai, a large weasel with a scythe created a massive force of wind which cancelled out Shukaku's blast. Temari and Shikamaru landed on the frog's head. Temari yelled out, get closer, I will take care of the wind blasts. Gamabunta didn't have time to complain about the people on him, he knew that Shukaku needed to be stopped now. Anko saw that Manda was struggling so she yelled out, hurry, we can't hold him any longer. When Gamabunta was within range, Shikamaru used his cage main jutsu and attached it to Gaara. He looked at Jiraiya, hit me now. Jiraiya was reluctant but realized what the boy was trying to do. He cocked back his fist and punched the Nara boy square in the cheek. Gaara's head snapped back. Shukaku felt Gaara was waking. He cursed everyone there, you bastards, I can't go back. I was just having fun, no. The golden glow that was once in his eyes left, returned to a dull gold. Gaara's eyes opened up slowly and he was back in control of the large body. He looked around to see a large snake wrapped around Shukaku's form, Sakura standing on Katsuya, his sister, Jiraiya, and the Nara, all on Gamabunta. Gaara transformed back to his regular form, causing a large amount of sand to crash to the ground. The area looked like a desert. Anko motioned for Manda to release him, which the snake did. All of the summons were tired. Manda spoke, well, since I eat that summon, your debt has been cleared. Next time, I want 50 human sacrifices, you got that? Anko nodded, then he disappeared. Gamabunta's eyes shifted up. I would love to stay to see Naruto fight, but I'm at my limit. Tell me how it goes, Jiraiya. The frog disappeared, causing everyone to fall to the ground. Sakura jumped off of Katsuya. You are dismissed, Katsuya. The slug nodded. Take care of yourself, Sakura-sama. She disappeared. Everyone walked toward Gaara, who was standing a few feet away. He looked at Temari. Temari, don't worry, Gaara, I know you didn't have any other choice. I'm just glad you're back, Temari said to her little brother. Gaara turned towards the area that Iwasado was at. The sand in that area started to move and his body slowly climbed above the sand. He was back in his regular form but heavily injured. Gaara walked over to the man who laid there defeated. When he and the group got next to the man, Gaara spoke, You. I never knew anyone who could control their demon. How were you able to? Iwasado formed a weak smile. One day, you will see the answer, Gaara of the desert. Gaara turned to Sakura. Heal him. He has the answers we need. She looked at Gaara. Jiraiya placed a hand on her shoulder. Just heal him, Sakura. Everything will be explained later. Sakura didn't understand why they were helping the enemy, but she knelt down and did what Jiraiya said. Her hand started to glow over his chest and began to heal the man. She looked back at Jiraiya. We can't take him back to the village. We still have a war, and without the proper facilities this is all I can do. He will live, but I can't do the treatment necessary. Gaara stepped forward. I don't care, he just needs to be alive. Now answer me, how were you able to control you demon's powers? He smiled at Gaara. Afraid of losing control, Gaara. If you're afraid, then you will never control your demon. Gaara narrowed his eyes. That's not what I asked. Give me a straight answer, damn it. Iwasado smiled. In due time, Gaara, in duty. His closed and his head went limp. Sakura turned to Gaara. He just passed out. He should be fine in a few hours. We can't worry about him. We have to head back to the stadium. The pain and exhaustion finally set in for Gaara. He fell forward only to be caught by Temari. She placed his arm over her shoulder to support him. Gaara looked at Iwasado. Damn. He has all of the answers to our problems. If we could control this power, then it wouldn't be a burden for us to use it. Jiraiya bent down and picked up Iwasado. You're right. I will take him somewhere safe and keep an eye on him. I don't know how this guy did it, but he did what many thought could not be done. I will take him to Ribiki and have him detained for the time being. Anko spoke. Well, I guess we better head back to the village. There are still enemy shinobi that need to be dealt with. Sakura cracked her knuckles. Then let's show them the combined strength of leaf and sand. Shikamaru shook his head but was smiling all the while. Troublesome, but what choice do we have? Gaara removed his arm from around Temari and told everyone, go without me. I will only be burden until I regain my strength. I will catch up, I just need to rest. Sakura was about to protest but Temari interrupted. As you wish, Kazekage-sama. Let's go, everyone. Anko was the first to phase out of sight along with Sakura, who was reluctant to leave Gaara behind. Shikamaru decided to leave the two siblings alone. Temari looked at Gaara with worried eyes. Is everything okay, Gaara? Yes. Go, Temari, and aid the leaf shinobi. I will catch up when I have enough energy. She didn't like leaving her brother, but she knew when Gaara made up his mind that was it. She blurred out of sight, leaving Gaara alone. Looking to his left, he saw Kankuro and Matsuri running toward him. Looking away, Gaara turned to his right. Seems like another intense battle is getting underway. Somewhere outside of the village, Kaito was now in a fighting stance. He and his younger brother exchange a few blows, but nothing too serious. With his sword at his side, Kaito's facial expression was that of a man who was more than serious. I don't understand you, Koku. You know I didn't want to be Mizukage. I will never forgive you for killing Tara and Fugu. Koku laughed. I'm not asking for your forgiveness, brother. I just want to kill you and end it here. I have been preparing for this day for so long you have no idea. Gripping on his sword firmly, Kaito spoke. Then why waste away? Let's finish this. Extending his hand in front of him and letting the sword drop, Kaito did hand seals at an accelerated speed. His black sword was suspended in air, hovering inches from the group. He brought his hands together to form the tiger seal, and held them there. The sword had a light blue outline around it as it remained suspended in the air. The ground started to shake. It didn't take long for water, in the form of dragons, to erupt from underground and scattering in all directions. Koku didn't seem impressed by the large volume of water as it swallowed him, and elevated Kaito from beneath his feet into the air. Kaito, who was standing on the water, had risen 50 feet above ground and looked below where his brother was swallowed. He narrowed his eyes. I see has improved a lot. Kaito jumped high in the air and watched as a whirlpool formed where he stood. He could see his brother now looking at him with hateful eyes. Koku performed an upward slash that caused a grayish-black water monster to shoot from the blade. As the ghostly figure came at him while he was still in the air, Kaito cancelled the technique with a horizontal slash. He landed a few feet away from his brother, who was standing on the water with Kaito. Koku, whose bluish-green hair was wet from the water, attacked Kaito. Koku smiled. I wasn't expecting you to use Imperial Flood this early. What's the matter, Kaito? No new techniques. Kaito smirked at his brother. More than you can handle, that's for sure. What about you? Using Nikui Konten, hateful soul, so early? That's not like you at all. Well, I figure since you were getting serious that I should as well. I must say though, for you to cancel it out with just a slash, you certainly haven't gotten better. Koku said in a nonchalant tone. You say that like it was supposed to harm me. You never were able to beat me with that or any of your techniques from what I can remember. Shall I refresh your memory, brother? Kaito's sword started to glow as he slipped into a stance. Koku shook his head. You still don't understand, do you? If you think that I haven't improved in 12 years, then you are sorely mistaken. I have surpassed you, brother. Allow me to prove it. Koku threw his sword high above his head and performed the necessary hand seals for the technique he was about to use. Kaito's eyes widened in shock. This can't be, you. Koku smirked. Yes, I have mastered it, brother. Now witness, Yushoku, also known as Acheron. The sword known as Sanzunokawa was now suspended in mid-air. The gray sword turned black, and sky that was once blue, turned pitch black in Kaito's eyes. The water on which he's standing upon, turned into murky water. Looking around, Kaito knew that he was in trouble. His father told him of this technique. As far as genjutsus went, it was one of the strongest. Countering it was damn near impossible, unless you possessed the Sharingan or the Byakugan. He had neither bloodline limit. Koku, who was standing before his older brother, laughed. You now see how useless it is, brother. I will definitely kill you. Kaito was cursing himself. Shit, I underestimated him. I have to find a way to break this jutsu. Slowly, rising from the murky water was a man with long red hair and green eyes. The man had a sword through his chest and blood was slowly dripping down it. He spoke. Hello there, Kaito. You look shocked to see me. What, thought I wouldn't return back to life? Kaito tried to ignore the man. His eyes narrowed at his brother. You bastard, how dare you insult Fugu? I'm not insulting anyone. You really have no idea how this technique works now, do you, brother? Sure, it's a genjutsu, but it's different from other genjutsu. This is not controlled by the caster, this jutsu is controlled by you and your guilt. Why do you think it's called Yushoku? Kaito understood better. He closed his eyes. Okay, just accept the fact that his death wasn't my fault, then I can get past this technique. Kaito turned to Fugu. I'm sorry, Fugu, but it wasn't my fault. It was Koku. Kaito said to the man. The image of Fugu responded. Your brother may have killed me, but you wasn't there to stop him. You broke your promise, friend. We swore we'd always have each other's back, right? Where were you when I needed it? Kaito kept trying to not feel guilty and convince himself that it wasn't his fault, but he just couldn't overcome that feeling of guilt and regret. He turned away only to see Zabuza staring him dead in the face. So you finally decided to fight him after all of these years? Why not then? Why now? You left us. I trusted you and you abandoned me. Zabuza's words hit home with Kaito. He backed away slowly only to back in to kiss him. Longtime friend, still scared to stop your brother. I would have killed his ass, but you let him become Mizukage, thus giving him the resources to stop me. I always told everyone you were a coward and you shouldn't have been leader. Reiga appeared on his left. I thought I'd never see the day when Seiki Kaito gave up. Another voice appeared from behind him on his right. They're right, you know. Kaito turned around to see his dear friend Tara. The sea green hair and her sun-colored eyes made him back away unconsciously. He whispered, Tara. She shook her head. I'm very disappointed in you, Kaito. You ran, even after I warned you. You blew it off and my life was taken as a result of that. Kaito, you are weak. Allow us to put you out of your misery. Tara drew her katana. Reiga drew his too. Fugu's long thin blade was drawn and so was Samehada. Kaito kept whispering to himself, I did nothing wrong. He closed his eyes and thought, I did run away though when I was needed most. I couldn't even save Tara. Zabuza had his beheading sword drawn. Kaito was forced to raise his in defense. He didn't want to, but he had no choice. The first to attack was none other than Zabuza. Kaito blocked it with much ease. Samehada came from behind but he flipped over it. When he landed, he had to block Fugu's incoming strike, which he did. Reiga's lightning was also dodged by jumping to the side. Kaito landed but Tara appeared on his right. This surprised him completely. Her blade was inching closer toward him and he didn't have any time to dodge. Blood was now floating in the air, slowly descending to the ground. Kaito appeared 20 feet away from everyone. Blood was slowly dripping from the gash on the side of his neck. Damn, she could have killed me. Maybe I should have let her though. I did fail them. Kaito put his head down, showing his anger and the shame that he didn't allow others to see. All of these emotions were bottled up for the last 12 years. Koku, who was watching from afar, was just smirking. So you are feeling guilt and shame? Well, that is Yushoku's purpose. You fail to realize that this jutsu can't be broken. Most people can't overcome the guilt and their shame. I know you better than anyone, brother. You feel sorrow for their loss and wish you could have saved them, but you couldn't. The longer you stay in this technique, the stronger its influence over you will become. It will become so strong that you will eventually kill yourself through a mental breakdown. Kaito was dodging attacks from his former comrades. He was trying his best to find a way to break this technique, but his thoughts of breaking the technique was slowly fading and being replaced by the guilt bottled up inside of him. Kaito avoided a slash from Kisame by jumping back. Kaito landed and skid across the water in a crouching position. Kaito's eyes expanded as he felt a sharp pain which caused him to look at his stomach. He was even more shocked to see that it was Kiryu sticking through him. He immediately looked to his hand to see that his sword was gone. When he slowly turned his head to see who was responsible for sticking his own sword through him, he saw a man who looked exactly like him with a goatee. Kaito whispered, Tusen. His father's eyes only showed disdain. I'm disappointed in you, Kaito, very disappointed. You don't deserve Kiryu. I entrusted it with you so you could be this generation's Asamoah, but you are weak. The sword was ripped from his chest roughly. Kaito grabbed the hole in his chest. He started to think to himself, this isn't real. I did nothing wrong. I did nothing wrong. I could have stayed but I didn't. That was my decision. Regardless of what decision I've made, I have to stand by it. I just wish I could break this jutsu. Kaito thought back to something his father told him when he was training him to use Kiryu. Flashback 23 years ago. Standing in the mist field during the dead of morning, Kaito was standing before his father after one of the grueling training sessions. His father smiled at him. I am very proud of your progress, son. Kiryu is now yours. From this day forth you will be this generation's Asamoah. Kaito was surprised when his father handed him the sword. He looked at the sword, then back at his father. But why? I thought this was yours, Dad. Why give it to me? Simple really, it has chosen you. You see, son, each of the 7 swords chooses their next wielder. In a sense, it's kind of like Heaven's Blade, that was wielded by Anshin of the Manashu clan. His sword has been passed on to his son Raiho, and my sword will be passed on to you. Those words caused a smile to form on Kaito's face. He was happy, but he had to ask about his brother. Father, what about Koku? He will not like this. Your brother has been selected to wield Sanzunokawa. That sword, if used correctly, outclasses Kiryu in certain aspects. But you and your brother side by side will usher in the new generation of the 7 swordsmen of the mist. His father informed. Kaito was curious about the sword his brother was to wield, so he started to question his father more. What makes it better than Kiryu in certain aspects? I thought that this sword was the strongest in the mist. His father began to explain. Kiryu is considered to be stronger, rightfully so I might add, but in certain aspects, Sanzunokawa, surpasses it. Sanzunokawa has 5 techniques that correspond to the rivers that run through the underworld. The 5 techniques are Acheron, the river of sorrow; Casitis, the river of lamentation; Phlegethon, the river of fire; Styx, the river of hate, which is the sword's name Sake; and last but not least, Eridanos, the river of ice. The 19-year-old Kaito wondered if his father ever seen any of these techniques up close. Father, did you ever witness any of these techniques? The boy's father nodded. Yes, I have, which is why I am telling you the strengths of this sword. Acheron, or the river of sorrow, casts a genjutsu that is virtually impossible to break if you have not come to terms with what you have or haven't done. Remember my words about Acheron, or Yushoku. It is probably the strongest technique from that sword. It's even stronger than Karyu's Sanshi. Now, Styx, potential can surpass this one as well. It just depends on the wielder's hatred. The more hate that is pumped into the sword, the stronger the attack from the sword will be. I've seen Styx, or Nikui Konten, as it is often called, do some serious damage during the wars. Kaito took in every word. He wanted to know more about the sword. So what about Cockchis, Phlegethon, and Lethe? All are very powerful techniques as well. Cockchis, also known as Ikoku no Nai, is a technique that causes the sword to vibrate and emit a sound that is so high it can bring you to your knees. It is said to be the wailing of the dead souls that, while living, met their end at the sword. Phlegethon, also known as Okibi Ryuoi, this technique is fire-based. Like its name, it shoots out streams of fire. That technique can be cancelled out by the technique that shares the same name as your sword, or Hyoi Ryujin. Now, Lethe, or Hitoku Itenbanju, is a technique you hope that isn't used unless. Unless what? Kaito eagerly waited for his father to answer. Unless you have mastered Suijin, and you have yet to master it. Don't worry, I'm sure your uncle hasn't taught Koku how to use it yet. He's not ready to use it. Kaito's father's smile caused him to put his hands up to dissuade his father from finding out his true intentions. I wasn't asking because of Koku, I just wanted to know about the sword. Kaito informed. His father gave off a light chuckle. Sure. You and your brother have always been competing against one another. That's good though, you will continue to push each other to be better. I think he will push you harder since the wielder of Karyu is usually the one to lead the 7 swordsmen of the mist. I guess that's why they call the wielders of this blade Asamoya. The nickname corresponds to being the first. Well anyway, have the other 5 been selected, father? Kaito questioned. His father nodded. Yes. You know 2 very well. Your best friend Tara will wield Kukai. It seems Fugu will wield Shuuran, that young Chunin Hoshigaki Kisim, Samehada, Kurosuke Reiga, Unsui, and last but not least, Mamaiki Zabuza will wield Kakushu. His ruthlessness is a perfect match for that sword, but he will never be as good as I know he could be if someone doesn't take him under his wing. That's where you come in. I want you to mentor the boy when he joins the 7. I will, father. So this means that I will be teamed up with your comrades in the 7. Kaito wondered. Only 3. Your uncle and I are officially giving over our swords to you 2 today. From what I understand, Fugu and Tara have already been presented with their swords. Kaito's father explained. So what will happen with Kisim and Zabuza for the time being? They will be trained to use their swords, and when the time comes they will become members. Kisim is already undergoing training. Zabuza's will start in 6 months. I currently assigned that kid to some missions. Either way, I think we should head back. The 2 started to head back to their home. After a few steps, Kaito's father placed a hand on his chest, causing him to stop. The look in his eyes showed the seriousness in him. Remembered what I said about Sanzunokawa. Never forget, never forget. Kaito nodded. He didn't know what his father was so worried about, but he would do what he was told. He would store it for future reference. The 2 continued home. End of flashback. Kaito stood up and looked at his father. You're wrong, I am not weak. I will prove to all of you that I am not weak. None of your deaths will be in vain. You all will live through me. I wish I could have protected you all, but I couldn't. But I will make sure that your killer is brought to justice. He will fall under this blade today, that much is certain. Kaito grabbed the sword from his father's hand. When he did so, he clutched with a tight grip. I am Asamoya, The sword that will guide the rest through the haze of the daylight. Watch me, watch me. Kaito's body started to glow as did the dragon on Kiryu. So everyone started to melt away before Kaito's eyes. The dark sky was being replaced by the image of the real world. Koku smiled at what was happening to his brother. It wasn't long until Kaito was finished. Finally, he had no one to worry about. He knew that Uzumaki would come after him for this, but he wasn't scared of the kid in the least. He did worry about Aizu, but he would handle him at a later date, he said. Koku's smile faded when he saw the dragon on Kaito's sword glow. Two dragons shot from the water into the sky. After swimming in the air, the two dragons charged at Kaito full force. When they hit him, the water rose 40 feet high, incasing him in the tube of water. Koku narrowed his eyes at this, using Swordsman already, how pathetic. When the tube of water that incased Kaito fell, his whole body was encased in an outline of glowing water. With his expression more serious than ever, he performed an upward slash, which caused a large mass of water to fly towards Koku. Koku slammed his sword into the water. Try on, Okibi Ryoi. Flames started to pour out from where the sword had struck. A large stream of fire, just as large in mass as the water that was coming his way, intercepted the body of water and turned it into mist. Koku was stuck in the mist. When Kaito popped up from behind him, Koku quickly blocked the sword. I see you decided to only use Swordsman to break the genjutsu. You didn't master it, did you, brother? Which is why you can't stay in that form long. Struggling in a sword standoff, Kaito responded, as always you think you know everything. I have mastered Swordsman if you must know, just be lucky I've decided to show you mercy, Kuku-chan. Koku glared at him, I'm going to kill you for that. The brothers jumped back as neither was giving an inch in the standoff. Landing on the water, the two stood about 20 feet from one another. Kaito closed his eyes, took a deep breath, opened them, then looked at Koku. I'm going to end this, Koku. This is the end of the line. Koku didn't even waste time. When he disappeared from view, Kaito's eyes widened. The Mizukage swung his sword at the head of the blue-haired shinobi, and reacting as quickly as he could, Kaito shushed away, avoiding the slash. Only a few strands of hair were caught in the mix. When Kaito landed a few feet away, he immediately had to jump to the side to avoid a slash. Goddamn, he's faster than me. Normally that wouldn't really be a problem, but he knows my style better than anyone else. I guess I have to use that, then I can turn the fight into my favor. Thinking quick, he pointed his sword in front of him. Koku appeared in front of him and with a horizontal slash, cut Kaito in half at the waist. He smiled at his victory, until he realized that Kaito burst into water. He was looking around for Kaito. He found him standing on his right. He then turned to find Kaito standing on his left. He started to notice there were more than one Kaito. Koku shook his head. You really haven't improved, have you, brother? Hiding behind Sanshi. This illusion won't work on me, brother. I know you can make me see whatever you want. I guess you realized that I'm faster, so you was hoping that this slowed me down, right? Kaito, the real one who was a few feet away, gritted his teeth. He's right. At least having him see false images of me, it will give me the chance to fight him. I can't believe he surpassed me. I got 2 lakhs. What am I saying? I can still win this. Koku's sword tip was facing the water as he held the hilt in the palm of his hand. Dropping it, he did a few hand seals before the sword hit the water. The tip was actually the only part of the sword touching the water. It was suspended in air. Then he gave a wicked grin. Ikoku nai. Kaito heard a low pitch. Realizing what was going on, he attempted to cover his ears but found himself dropping to his knees as the screeching sound was agony to his ears. The images before Koku started to fade until he saw Kaito a few feet away on his knees. Having no choice, Kaito raised the sword high as he could, then slammed it into the water, and shouted, Kiryu. A large wave started from where the sword was at and directed itself at Koku. Coming at him with so much force, he grabbed his sword that was suspended in air. Not having enough time to counter, he was caught up in the force of the wave. Koku was swallowed by the wave. His brother, who was still on his knees, due to the sound's effect on his equilibrium, slowly regained himself and rose. Kaito was breathing hard. This fight was taking more out of him than he thought. He thought he slowed down Koku enough, until the water started to boil and bubble and steam started to rise. Kaito brought his sword, which was facing the sky, close to his chest, then screamed out, "Ah!" Flames erupted around him and continued to erupt until the body of water that he created earlier was completely encased in flames. Somewhere outside of the village 5 minutes prior, Naya was looking at the flames that rose high enough for all to see. She glanced at the cloud shinobi at her feet who was struggling to hold onto his life. She ignored him and turned back toward the direction she knew Kaito was in. "You better hold on until I get there." Using her speed, she headed towards his direction. Jumping through the trees, Naya was using all of her speed to get to her destination. She may have claimed that he was a nuisance and that he got on her nerves, but she didn't want to lose him. Knowing that she should have headed towards the stadium to help Tsunade with Aizu, she decided to follow her heart. Kaito was a priority, even she would never say that to him out loud. Naya continued to push forward towards Kaito. Present time somewhere outside of Konoha. Koku was standing. The large mass of water was now decorated with a few flames that danced on the top of the water. On anybody else, that technique would have been the end all, but on his brother, the one who controlled Kiryu, that wasn't the case. Kaito was standing a couple of feet in front of him, breathing hard. "I had to use Swordsman again. If I didn't, I would have been a goner. He is using all of his techniques effectively. I got to end this, he has to pay. I am the only one that can stop him. Correction, I am the only one who should stop him." Kaito thought to himself. His brother, on the other hand, had different plans. "I can't believe you forced my hand. I thought I would never have to use this. I will show that I have always been the strongest and that you have always been the weakest. Father made a mistake when he selected you to become Mizukage." Kaito narrowed his eyes. "That's why you killed him. On the contrary, I killed him because he wanted to change the village. The fact that he selected you didn't matter at all. That old fool was setting it up so that our village would be as peaceful as the tree-hugging, leaf-loving fools in Konoha. Our village has and will always be respected as the Bloody Mist, the most ruthless of the 5 great nations. Father had to die, that change would have made the village suffer." Fugu and Tara were strong advocates of the old man's beliefs, and with them in the way it would have presented me with a problem. So, not wanting any problems, I killed them. I wanted to kill, but I couldn't. I wasn't strong enough at the time to do that. Among the 7, your level of skill eclipsed us all. Also, you were one of Father's advocates as well. You becoming Mizukage didn't sit well with me. So I did all I could to turn the people of the village, who loved and adored you, against you. Once I did that, it caused you to flee the village and I had control. I knew, however, that it wouldn't be absolute as long as you were alive. So I got stronger and now I stand here before you ready to kill you." Kaito whispered, "So you did all of this to keep the old bloody ways of our village? You make me sick." "Maybe so, but you're going to die. For pushing me this far, you will be the first of our generation to witness Hitoku Itenbanju." Koku informed Kaito. Koku threw his sword in the air once more. Doing the necessary hand seals for the jutsu, he came to a stop and so did the sword. Suspended in air, the sword started to spin furiously. Kaito's father warned him about this technique. He braced himself for the jutsu. In the blink of an eye, he was transported to another dimension, at least from what he could tell. Must be another genjutsu, he was correct in his summation, partially anyway. The area that the two was fighting in had an invisible barrier. To someone outside of the perimeter of the barrier it would look like the nothing was there. However, this was not the case. Inside the barrier, Kaito could see was in a room filled with mist. Koku emerged from the misty room. "Welcome to Hitoku Itenbanju, your final resting place. A ninjutsu and a genjutsu combined, what a powerful technique this is. You will see what I mean." Kaito didn't have time to react as blood erupted from his shoulder. Feeling the pain, he tried to create distance by jumping away, but felt a kick to his face that sent him in the opposite direction. Landing and breathing hard once again, Kaito was contemplating his next move. This alternate reality or genjutsu was something that he knew he had to break fast. Swordsman was his only way out, but he didn't want to use it. Rather, he couldn't, not completely anyway. It was like Koku said, he hadn't mastered it completely. That would be his last resort. He figured he could hold Koku off, but a slash to the gut caused him to rethink that. Falling to his knees, Kaito's left hand clutched his stomach. Appearing from the fog in front of his brother with his sword raised high, he gave a wicked smile. With you gone, there will be no doubts and my power will be absolute. Goodbye Kaito, your time here has long since expired. As Koku brought the sword down to claim Kaito's head, he closed his eyes. As the sword inched closer and closer, it was blocked before it reached his head. Kaito forced him to jump back when pushed his sword forward. When he was fully erected, the water, that was glowing started to surround his body once more. Koku was greatly angered seeing this. His facial expression visually confirmed this. Kaito, who was bleeding, glared at his brother. I can only hold this technique for 5 minutes. I should have mastered it but I never ever had no need to. I guess I'm the one who got lazy. Kaito disappeared from his spot. When he appeared behind Koku, he slashed at his head only to strike missed. Using his speed, Kaito blocked the sword aimed for his heart. His brother concealed himself in the mist again. Normally for Kaito, finding someone in the mist would be easy, however, this was his brother's genjutsu and ninjutsu fused into one. Kaito knew he had only one chance of escaping this technique. Raising his sword to the heavens, the dragon on Kiryu started to glow once more. Kaito's whole body turned into water, then exploded. This explosion created a large mass of water with a current so strong that the barrier in which they were contained in broke. Everything within a 2-mile radius became a part of an ocean. A minute later, Naya was walking on the body of water. She was actually searching for Kaito. Actually, she was kind of worried for him. She prayed nothing happened to him. Naya looked around. Finally she looked down to see Bubbles. Immediately thinking that it was Kaito when she saw bits of blue hair, she ran toward it. Naya's sixth sense for danger kicked in when a man swinging a sword aimed at her throat popped out of the water. Doing a back handstand to create distances, Naya glared at the guy. Koku laughed. I didn't think you would be here Naya-nichan. Worried about your husband I see. Don't worry, you will be joining him shortly. Naya narrowed her eyes at Koku. Bastard. Don't confuse me with your daughter. Don't forget Naya-san, I know the real reason why you retired as a shinobi from the Leaf. You and my brother, your affair with him was enough to get the villagers on my side and convince them that he murdered my father. It was so believable because they thought that he was trading secrets to Konoha. You retired because you didn't want to face that same problem. Also, making my niece a Jinchuriki, then abandoning her at 9 wasn't nice at all. The glare that Naya gave him was satisfying. Koku continued, is that why Kaito took Naruto under his wing? Naya's eyes widened at the mentioning of Naruto. So you knew that he was a Jinchuriki? He shook his head, not at all. I just found out today. But it makes sense now. So Minato's death was because he used himself as a sacrifice to seal the Jinchuriki in Naruto. Now that I think about it, they do favor. I'm assuming Uzumaki is his son. Naya's eyes narrowed even further, this confirmed his speculation, so it's true. I see what my old man was getting at with the unification of nations. You and Kaito's relationship would have made our nations allies, kind of how Leaf and Sand are now. Since Minato was your teammate, the Hokage, and good friends with my brother who was to become Mizukage, it would only be a matter of time before our nations would be allies. Now I see it all clearly, Savia and Naruto were to be the link between the two villages even though Minato knew he wouldn't be around to see it. No wonder Sandaime Hokage and my father had relations. But you didn't want that did you, your pathetic Koku? Your own selfish desires have led to the turmoil that the Leaf and the Mist was trying to bury. Savia has always been a smart child, I'm sure she understands why we left her in Mist, she will never be your weapon. Her destiny, along with those in her generation, was to change and forge a future better than the one that our ancestors built. You are much like Danzu, nothing but war. I have no choice, I was saving this for Aizu but I will have to use it on you. Naya was doing the hand seals necessary but stopped short when the water underneath her started to shake. In front of her a huge dragon shot out of the water. Standing on the water dragon was Kaito. Not wasting any time, the dragon charged at his brother. Koku tried to cancel it out by doing his own, water dragon, jutsu. This was the distraction Kaito needed and wanted, because he appeared in front Koku. Before the younger of the two could react, he had slashed diagonally across his chest. Still in his surgeon form, Kaito landed in front of Naya with his back to his brother. Koku fell to his knees holding his chest. He wasn't expecting Kaito to use the dragon as a distraction, he was careless, he thought. Kaito gave Naya a side glance. Why did you come? You're needed elsewhere. I told you, I would handle this. I do what I want. I chose to come here, deal with it. Kaito ignored her and raised his sword high above his head. Koku, this time, you will understand the power of Suijin. There will be no escape, this time you die. A big wave rose 100 feet above behind Kaito and Naya. Speaking so only Naya could hear, grab a hold of me. Whoever is holding onto me will not be swept up in the current. Naya placed a hand on his shoulder. Koku, who was holding his chest, glared at his brother and waited for him to bring the sword down. When Kaito decided to do so, about 40 shinobi from the mist surrounded Kaito, Naya, and Koku. One shinobi, however, was standing in front of Koku, acting as a barrier between herself and him. A young female shinobi with blue hair and brown eyes, wearing the traditional Miss Junin outfit, had her left hand extended with her palm open. I will not allow you to kill our Mizukage. Naya and Kaito couldn't do anything. The girl stood before them, who was in her early 20s, was none other than Savia. Koku laughed. See, your own daughter stands against you, brother. What will you do now? Before Koku could finish his laughter, a firm kick was placed to his jaw that sent him a few feet away. The Junin turned to her men. Place the Mizukage under arrest. He is charged with the murder of Yondai Mizukage and 2 members of the 7 Swords. Koku sat up and placed his hand under his jaw. You little bitch. After all I have done for you, you go and betray me. Your loyalty should lie with me. Savia with a stern unemotional gaze responded, my loyalty has and will always lie with the village. You bought this on yourself, Koku Oji-san. Koku laughed once more. You have no proof that I committed what you are accusing me of. Shinobi of the Mist, arrest her, Kaito, and Naya. Koku's smile faded when his men were glaring at him and not moving. He yelled, I said arrest them. Kaito, who was still in his Suijin form, smiled, I wonder why they're not listening to you, brother. Kaito turned and revealed the communication device that was in his ear. His was damaged from the battle, however, the one that Savia revealed wasn't. Savia spoke once more, you admitted to killing them with your own words. You will pay for your actions. Again, arrest the Mizukage, no arrest Seiki Koku. One of the mist shinobi appeared in front of Koku. Doing hand seals, he placed a hand on the extremely injured Mizukage's head. In doing so, the heavily injured Mizukage passed out. Place him under restraints. Use a level 4 binding seal that should be enough to contain him. Also, get a medical squad to him immediately, I don't want him dying on us. He will stand trial for his crimes. Savia stated. The shinobi bowed to her and did as she said. Her gaze turned to Kaito and Naya. The glowing water around Kaito evaporated, he fell to the ground in extreme pain. Naya acted on instant and dropped to her knees to tend to him. Savia just watched as Naya tended to Kaito. He won't make it at this rate. Suijin must have taken a toll on his body. What made it even worse was the injury he received prior. If he had not received that injury, the drain wouldn't have put him in a critical state. Savia walked over to Naya and Kaito. Kaito gave a weak smile, I see you're bossy like your mom. Savia didn't react to his comment. She just gave him a once-over then looked at Naya, I will make sure that he is okay. Naya wanted to say so much to her but she couldn't. It was like her mind went blank. The only response she was able to give was, all right. Are you taking him home? Yes, we're taking him back to the mist. You are welcome to join. Savia offered. I would love to but I can't. You don't know what's at stake in this war. Aizu must be stopped and well, I have designed a seal that will stop him. That's the only way to stop him. Naya informed. He must be a strong guy if you are the one who's performing the jutsu to seal off his power. I've seen him fighting at the stadium, with your movement you will never get close enough to touch him. Savia pointed out. I know, that's where my apprentice comes in. Both of us will designate an area that will contain his power and drain it. Naya informed. Savia ran through a few hand signs, placed her hand on her father body. A blue barrier formed around his body. Naya was impressed by the seal. I see you learned how to place someone in suspended animation. Savia nodded. I've learned quite a lot over the years. I had an excellent teacher for my first 9 years, who gave me the foundation I needed to become a master at Fuinjutsu. What about the past 13? Naya asked. The girl looked Naya in the eye. Those were spent on being able to control my Bayu, sword training with Koku, becoming stronger, and understanding why my parents left me. I have a better understanding why they left. What I don't understand is why didn't you and dad take me with you? Naya began to explain. You were safer in the village and that's all I will say for now. Your father and I were on our own hiding. It wasn't until recently that we were able to link up together. We kept tabs on you through the shinobi that were loyal to your father. Sometimes, your father and I would infiltrate the village at the risk of our own life to see you. That necklace you're wearing, I'm sure it was on your table the day you graduated from the academy along with the sword that you carry on your back. Did you ever read the inscriptions on the inside of the necklace? Taking off her necklace, she looked at the inscription on the inside that read, "Congrats. Love always, Mom." She quickly put the necklace back on her neck and concealed her emotions, but the thought that ran through her mind was, they were protecting me, so they didn't stop loving me. Naya broke the silence. Leaving you was the hardest thing in the world I had to do. But if I had to make that decision again, knowing that you would be safe, I would make it in a heartbeat. The blue-haired nin looked away. Looking at her father for a quick second, she turned her head to one of the Junin who was standing off on the side. Inform all mist shinobi that we are retreating. The shinobi gave her a weird look. We're pulling out, but our allies will have to fight their personal war by themselves. This is not the mist's problem. Send out a flare. The shinobi didn't question her again. He pulled out the flare and shot it in the air. Savia placed Kaito over her shoulder then looked at Naya. Be careful out there. We have a lot to talk about. I have a lot of questions that need to be answered from the two of you. Naya understood completely. She didn't expect to get off scot-free. She watched as her daughter motioned with her free hand for the shinobi of the mist to move out. All of the mist shinobi blurred out of view. Savia however remained. She said one more thing before going. Uzumaki Naruto is about to fight that guy from Cloud. From what I can sense, the guy from Cloud has full control over his Bayu. Naruto however does not. You might have to stop him if he gets out hand. I hope the seal for Aizu was a level 6 seal or else sealing off his power will be impossible. Naruto is strong, he will be fine. Naya said. In any case, be prepared. If I drew on the power of the 8 tails, I would have the power to stop him but it's too hard to even think like that. If the Kyuubi gets control he can access all 9 tails. My Bayu is weaker than the 9 tails. I would have to put him down before he could reach all 9, if he goes that far. However, this isn't my war so I will no longer play a role in it. Savia said. Naya asked a question. You have the ability to sense the powers of the other Bijuas. Yes, I however have an extra ability that allows me to sense a person's true ability, whether they're concealing it or not, but that's not all. I can sense the power of the Raikage, and well, let's just say you're going to need a level 6 seal for him. Honestly, I don't even think it would matter. If he goes all out, I don't think anyone can stop him, me included, Savia pointed out. Naya spoke out loud to herself. I thought that Senzaru or even Naruto, who now has Heaven's Blade, would be able to stand a chance. Savia raised an eyebrow. Wait, are you telling me that's the other power I feel with Naruto? What do you mean? Naya asked. There is a power that is strong with Naruto, however, it seems to be at war with the 9 tails. I don't fully understand it. It's like it's trying to tame the 9 tails power. The deciding factor over which force will prevail is dependent on Naruto's will from what I can determine. The Mist Shinobi said informing Naya. What about Senzaru, the wielder of the Phoenix contract? Does he stand a chance? Naya asked. I don't know. He's within a containment barrier that is masking his power. I'm guessing he is a threat if the Raikage went through all of this trouble to seal him off. Uchiha Sasuke is pretty strong. Doesn't he stand a chance against Aizu? The Uchiha, if he could hold CS3, Curse Seal 3, form indefinitely, then yes. Since he can't, no. Now thinking about it, he might be the only one who can tame the 9 tails enough from taking Naruto over. You better than anyone knows about the power that lies in the Sharingan. You were a Leaf Shinobi. It isn't the most feared bloodline for nothing. It doesn't matter though, Uchiha Sasuke is occupied at the moment and will probably be drained from his current battle, if he wins. He's fighting an opponent who isn't going all out. At their base level, Uchiha Sasuke has the advantage, but using CS2 and his opponent using his ultimate form, I can't call it. I know that Sasuke will not go to level 3 if he doesn't have to. It's just too much of strain on his body. He has not mastered that form as of yet. Naya took in all that her daughter said to her. She gave her a serious look. What about Tsunade? The girl returned the look. Her power has fluctuated, which I'm sure you can feel. However, Aizu still has the upper hand. If your plan is not put into action as soon as possible, she is going to die. It's really that simple. I have to go. If Konoha is still here, I will be back in 3 days with a status update. Blurring out of existence, Naya came to grips with what was said. If she didn't act, Tsunade would die. Naruto had powers fighting for supremacy, from what she understood. If the 9 tails got loose, then it was all over. Naya needed to think of her next move. She decided to take a few minutes to decide on her next course of action. Outskirts of the village, Uchiha Sasuke was standing at the edge of the crater he created, smirking at his opponent. Are you still going to put up a fight, or are you going to tell me where Kun is so I can get a real challenge? Kadan pulled himself off of the ground. A real challenge, you say? I guess I have been playing with you too long, Uchiha Sasuke. I guess it's time I show my true form. You're not the only one with an alternative power source, you know. I don't have the curse seal that you have, but I do have the ability to transform into something greater. After countless experiments, I have achieved successful results. I am the definition of bioengineered super soldier. Allow me to demonstrate. Balling up both hands and punching them together, Kadan's whole body turned as black as tar. His pupils disappeared completely. His iris and sclera were both neon yellow. Spikes started to form over his hand, creating a blade-like appendage on both forearms. A black tail had also sprouted from behind him. Sasuke's eyebrow elevated slightly at the transformation. He noticed that green marks appeared on both biceps, both shins, and on his chest. They looked like seals, and after further examination, they were. Sasuke activated his Sharingan to prepare himself. He also placed a hand on his sword. Smiling, he thought, this should be interesting. Stadium. Tsunade was on one knee after being hit by a wind jutsu. Aizu's intense gaze just pissed her off. She knew, he knew, everyone that was watching knew, that if this kept up, she would die. Seeing the flare in the air, she thought to herself, good, the mist is pulling out. It shouldn't take long for our combined forces to drive off the rest. Naruto's appearance with Yondaim's jutsu forced the majority of Rain and Rock shinobi to retreat. Shinji is down there taking care of the rest effortlessly, and everyone else is helping with the evacuation. Once that is done, we will have the full force to strike. I might as well strike now and take out the heart. Once the heart is gone from the enemy, everything else will fail. Tsunade stood from her posture. I guess it's time I put it all on the line. Oh, what do you have planned, Tsunade-sama? 30 years of storing chakra, and it's come to this. I never thought I would be using the Genesis seal like this, but there is no other way. Chuan performed the seal to release the Genesis seal. A thin red glow outlined her body. The purple seals, caused by the release of this seal, formed her face. Tsunade could feel the power coursing through her veins. She redirected the technique to be used as a power boost. 30 years of chakra storage, the increase in power was more than what was expected. She glared at Aizu. It ends here. Black flames started to flare up and surround Aizu, who returned the smile. That it does. That it does. Outside of the village, Naruto and Kun landed only a few seconds ago and was standing in the middle of the forest. Naruto's serious expression never left his face. Kun was smiling. His smile faded, however, when 2 Bolt Squads surrounded both him and Naruto. One of the members of Cloud's special forces spoke. Uzumaki Naruto, you have been marked for death by the Raikage himself. Kun was about to react but stopped when Naruto placed his left hand on his sword, which was positioned to be drawn from the right side. A strong wind came from Naruto's base and spread throughout. The shinobi got prepared. That was a sign he was preparing for a jutsu. Naruto drew the sword using his left hand. Swinging it down diagonally from his right to his left, then bringing it up in a fast motion and placing it over his shoulder while looking at the ground. The shinobi present wondered why he did what he did. Kuin knew the purpose, which is why he jumped out of the way to avoid the jutsu. Before any bold members could respond, the whole area was decimated. Some of the trees split in multiple pieces as if they were sliced by an invincible sword. The bold members suffered the same fate as the trees. Naruto looked up to see the damage that he caused. Sheathing his sword, he was looking for Kuin. I know that technique didn't harm you, Kuin. You can come out. Kuin was standing on one of the few trees that were still standing. Impressive technique. Did you create that or did someone else? Naruto responded, nope, it's all me. Don't worry, you will get to see other techniques I have created. Well, if it's as weak as that previous one, I'm not too worried. Kuin countered. Naruto shot back another verbal punch, which is why you dodged. I think you should know that it's only about 50% complete. I created it years ago, so I still have much more to improve on. But had you not dodged it, you would be over there with your friends. I would have survived. The only reason I jumped is because I didn't want their blood on me. I will say this though, you do have some talent. I can understand why Aizu is interested in you. Too bad you won't be fighting him though. Oh, why is that? Are you going to kill me? Naruto asked with hint of sarcasm. Yes, this is a fight to the death. I don't care about this war, I just want to grow stronger and fight strong opponents. I am a warrior. You, my friend, you're a warrior as well. I can tell. You love fighting just as much as I do. It's evident in the way you fight. Look at your scrimmage with Kumoko, you wasn't interested in her because she was not on your level. If you didn't think I was worthy, you wouldn't have agreed to fight me as well, but you did because you're not sure about my power and you want to know if I'm stronger. Well, let me let you in on something that you might know. Your battle against me is pointless. How do you figure? Naruto questioned. I have a demon inside of me. I am known as what you would call a. Naruto finished up, Jinchuriki, right. Kuin smiled, so you are familiar with my kind. Within in me is the Gobi no Hoko, one of the strongest of the Bijuas. His power is mine, Naruto. I want to know how far will you push me? Your friend Shinji pushed me to 3 tails, I'm hoping with you I can go out. You're a legend, feared by many. Beating you would prove my strength, and I also will be able to gauge myself. Naruto smirked, one of the strongest Beiyu, you don't say. Well, allow me to be the first to inform you, I am a Jinchuriki as well. Kuin's eyes widened, then he broke out in a smile, oh, you have a Beiyu, then I wasn't wrong in selecting you, Uzumaki Naruto. Which of the weaker Bijuas do you have within you? Weak. It was always my understanding that the Kyubi no Yoko was the strongest of the tailed beasts. But if he is the weakest, then I guess I have been misinformed. Naruto said while shrugging. Kuin couldn't believe what he was hearing. Here he thought that he would get a good fight but still prevail. Now he wasn't too sure if he could win. Uncertainty, this was feeling that he liked. He would enjoy this fight. Kyubi, call on his power so we can see who is the strongest. Naruto shook his head, no. I will fight you my way. Kuin's smile faded, either you do it or I'm going to beat you until you do. Naruto smirked, that's a chance I'm willing to take. The two shinobi stood in the middle area in which their battle was about to take place. Kuin was going to see who was stronger, him or Naruto. He would get Naruto to draw on the 9 tails power. He needed to test himself, and what better way to do it than to face the power of the legendary Kyubi. He would get him to draw it somehow. Naruto on the other hand was contemplating on drawing the power. Heaven's Blade, he was saving that for Aizu. Raiho once told him that it was alright to use the Kyubi, it wasn't okay to get dependent on it. That was his fear. Naruto knew that he would have to use it since Kuin was a Jinchuriki like himself. He would wait it out though and see how far he could get with fighting him in his base form. The seals were already removed, so he was his full potential in his base form. The question was how long would he be able to last against a Jinchuriki in his base form? He would soon find out. Translations. Osamoya, Morning Mist, 7 Swords of the Mist Wielders. Keiryu, Ocean Current, Kaito. Sanzunokawa, River Styx, Koku. Kukai, Crimson Sea, Tara. Kakushu, Beheading, Zabuza. Shuuran, Autumn Rain, Fugu. Unsui, Clouds and Water, Raiga. Samehada, Shark Skin, Kisum. Koku techniques. Akron, river of sorrow. Yushoku, traces of sorrow. Kasitis, river of lamentation. Ikoku nai, wailing of the dead. Phlegethon, river of fire. Okibi ryoi, blazing fire stream. Styx, river of hate. Nikui konten, hateful soul. Lethe, river of forgetfulness. Hitoku itenbanju, concealment of the whole realm. Kaito techniques. Deep reflection. Sanshi, genjutsu. Imperial flood. Amatsu hanran, ninjutsu. Ocean current. Keryu, ninjutsu. Flying water dragon god Hyoi Ryujin, ninjutsu. Water god Suijin, taijutsu, kenjutsu. That will be all for this video. Be sure to like, subscribe, share, and comment down below for more videos. Goodbye.